All right. So thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Um, so how do we know each other? The first time I met you,
I had no hair.
you actually knocked on our door. Hi, I'm Leo from Optus. That was a good, what was that, 20 something years ago?
24 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And then a year later, we ended up, as kids, me and my best friend Emmanuel, ended up working in door-to-door sales and end up being on your team.
That's
So-
right. And I get to drive, so I'm in charge of everybody's life.
And then I don't see you for another 20 years. Well, no, another 10 years, I think. And then I saw you playing poker, and then another 10 years
Yeah.
after that, ran into your game.
Yeah, that
playing
time,
poker.
the 10 year in between was like a commercial, we just don't talk to each other's past, but he's alive. Next episode.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, ever since the last time, you've been taking a bit of money from me over here every now and then.
Yeah, every now and then I sort of see you on the table. I'm not sure. I just can't be sure because you change so much. I don't know if you grow taller. Like every time I don't see you over a certain period of time, I feel like you're still growing. So that's why I asked you, did you just grow taller again?
I get that all the time. Every time I see someone I hadn't seen in a while, they say, "Hey, did you get taller?" I think maybe that's but I definitely change my look all the time. Sometimes I wear glasses, don't wear glasses, clean shaven, beard, long hair, short hair.
Yeah, I was like, is this guy's got into trouble or something? Why is he changing? Or is this changing body height is really tough.
I'm a secret fugitive.
That's right, because when I picture some kind of Korean model that I want to become, look hot, and I build my body, first thing I notice, I gotta add 100 millimeters to my height. That's really hard to train, because you can't do pull-ups and just get longer.
Oh, apparently you can have surgeries that stretch you out. But a funny story is I was coming into Phuket one day, and every time you come into Thailand, they take your picture at the airport. So they started the airport officials all started gathering around the computer, and then they started calling their buddies over, and they're pointing at the screen and laughing. And I must have flown into Phuket, about 6-7 times in the last couple of years. And then they bring me around to look at their screen, and they say, "Is this really all you?" And there's some of me, I've got blonde hair, long hair, I completely look different in every photo that I come in.
I think what they're going through is a bit of a Mandela effect. So what they're going through is collectively in history, this guy looked like a criminal. So therefore, we should all have this memory. But then when we go back to the picture and look at history of criminal pictures, this does not look the same. Somehow people change the history when we don't know. So then they come back and go, we remember this as different.
Yeah,
and now look at this guy.
The Mandela effect. What's your take on that? Do you believe in that? Do you believe it's because of something that had happened?
I actually don't even know it existed. I remember listening and remembering this guy's name, Nelson Mandela, and I remember reading about him in a jail, and I thought he died. I'm one of those. I'm on that side. But then there's side of me thinking, I'm pretty sure I heard him came out at 1990. So I go and dig history. And then, well, if you go on Wikipedia, you'll find both. Anyway, and then that's called a Mandela effect as well. And then my wife goes to me, do you know that what this is actually mean? Did you want to Google that? That's not too far away, actually. That was quite recent. And then I researched it, but I researched it in a way that relates to me. So I go and look into my culture. I'm Cantonese from Hong Kong. So when I first came here, it was 1991. And I don't know how I picked up all these English accents, probably from karaoke. Then my high school was called St. Francis Xavier's College. It's where Bruce Lee graduated before he got kicked out to a better school because of fighting.
So that wasn't a lie. When you told the customers, I went to the same high school that Bruce Lee went to.
It's so hard to lie. I just tell them the truth. I just drop the effort of lying. It's just so hard. It's like juggling motor thing. It's just cross the road properly. Don't jaywalk. It's hard.
So you're saying with the Mandela effect.
Yeah. So one of the Bruce Lee saying in one of his movies is it's about when he's fighting the Japanese masters. He was saying in a particular phrase, it goes. I'm trying to picture how do I translate this in English. He say, "Us Chinese are not South or not East Asia weaklings," something like that. And to my understanding, the word does not contain apostrophe s, like not that locations weaklings. Like we're warriors. We're trying to say that we're not weak. And then when I look back in history, my understanding, my memory, and everybody remembers it does not have apostrophe s. And then if you look at it, what I'm now translating into an English subtitle. So if now you have an English subtitle, you go back, it has a apostrophe s. And it's almost like an added punctuation or a preposition that was not part of the slogan of how he says it. And even on the sign where he kicks it or whatever, that sign doesn't have that. But then if you now Google and go back to the picture or find that movie and find that clip or that sentence, it has that phrase, which is completely foreign to us. But then until you find out, if you ask anyone else, they seem to think that you get like half of each. Some say, yeah, I think it has. The other guys, I don't remember it has. But no one can prove.
Yeah, I didn't buy into all this Mandela effect stuff, because none of it resonated with me until there was one where they say that there was no movie Shazam with Sinbad, and to me, I distinctly remember being at the video store and seeing the movie Shazam, and I don't know who Sinbad is as a comedian. He's more popular in America, right? As a little Australian child, I only know Sinbad from that movie. And now, fast forward 20 years later, that movie doesn't exist, or it was some skit, or it wasn't a real movie, but instead we have Shaquille O'Neal in a movie called Kazam, which I've never fucking heard of in my entire existence. So where did this movie come from? Kazam? What is that?
It's just misspelled.
And to me, that really boggles my mind. So now I'm starting to pay attention to this Mandela effect, and what a lot of people seem to break it down to where the main shift happened was in 2012.
Yes.
When CERN smashed those particles together to do the experiment, the Higgs boson effect, right? To find the God particle. And so somewhere along the line, half of our consciousness has shifted into another reality, and we're just living in a 50-50 world. That's the theory.
So that is equivalent to Thanos's.
yeah. It's like, what are your thoughts on the Mandela effect? What are you?
I tend to, because I went to Vipassana, and then I did a whole 10-day meditation. After that, I just focus on observing and not reacting so much on things. It's like, oh, this has to be real, this has to be unreal, therefore I have to do something. And that's reaction. But reaction doesn't get you progress. So therefore, I learn to just observe. And then I get the data out of this observation as insight. Then I can actually use it. That may or may not grow as a wisdom, depends on the occasion, really. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks stupid. So, yeah.
But isn't that the whole reason we're here is to react to everything? I mean, if we don't react to anything, then we're just not experiencing, right?
There are priorities. I think there are things that if you are being real, you will automatically be you. When you are you, then if that you would react, you would react. You wouldn't pretend to not be you. And that's what I learned from this observation. Whether that history is real or not, or did our memory just glitched or malfunction, that's not the important part. But are we being us? Because if we're being us, every moment I'm creating history that is still real to me and to everybody that knows me. And if that is the thing that I can do, that's all that matters, because it's the collective effort of everything being real. If there's always going to be people that can't do it. You don't have to force them. It's their path. And if we're all being real, or the majority of us being real, then that's a positive result. That's a good problem to have.
So you said you spent Vipassana. That's the 10
In Blackheath, yeah. A 10-day silent meditation camp.
in the Blue Mountains, where you can't even bring a book there, right?
No, you can't even bring a book, no. You cannot even look at your friend if you have anybody that you know. And there's a little note behind the door there after you drop off your mobile, of course, after drop off every communication device that you may have. You go to your room behind the door of the dorm. Not sure I'm supposed to talk about this, but there's a little line, hopefully it doesn't give you any spoilers, said we understand that you're here with 100 other students. However, we would like you to treat this camp as if you're here alone. And also, you don't exercise as well, you don't do anything vigorous. You're allowed to walk around and stare at the nature. You don't have to go creepy. You can just look at the leaf and look at the ladybug fly and walk and understand its pattern, do its thing. But just treat everyone as they're not here, not even being arrogant, you know.
So it's 10 days just doing nothing.
10 days, that's right. Every morning, they will ring the bell at 4:30. It's like a little Buddhist bell, and walk around, which you'll be able to hear it. Then you're supposed to wake up, which they know. You will fall back asleep, so they do it again at 5, so that you guys can actually wake up and go to the hall and start your meditation. Whether it's raining, sunshine, or no light. Normally you walk in the dark because I was in there in January where the bushfire happened in 2019, the early start, before even COVID was a thing. So COVID never occurred to me as a thing. I didn't know that there's going to be no more jobs out there because we're just going to be in lockdown. I was already quit my job. I'm ahead of time. So I was there for 10 days, whether it's raining or whatever. The first 2 days, I think I did struggle to wake up because once you wake up, you go into the hall. I might even feel a slight flu symptom maybe just because just being weak, being awake at times that I'm not even going to a holiday destination. You meditate for 2 hours. You towards 6:30, almost close to 7. You listen to the chanting. You still don't speak. You come back to the food court or the canteen. You have some like plain stuff, vegetarian, very light meal. You get to look at the nature for a bit. You have half an hour if you want to ask questions. And then at 8:30, we meditate again. This time we go all the way to lunchtime. And this is the part where I really can't feel my legs.
But for me, I couldn't do it because I can't even meditate for 15 minutes to sit there with nothing. At least I need some music or some guidance or to be somewhere where there's a bit of ambience. But if you're just sitting in a hall for hours and hours and hours, that's where you lose your mind, you lose yourself, everything gets stripped away, and time would just slow down. And I think, but man, I'm curious to do it. I just don't. I think 10 days is a lot.
It's interesting you say that because your comment is actually one of the most common comment in the entire group. Like nobody, include myself, think that we will make it on day 1. However, this thought slowly change at a small degree as you progress. Every day that you made it or too lazy to leave or escape the camp, you become stronger. You become more resistant to this. You become more resilient. Like the old quote saying, the pain is inevitable, but your suffering is optional. That is actually true. If you push through, you're not telling you to ignore the pain. We're not telling you to ignore the pain. The pain is there. Be aware. Fully focused and aware and work through it, and you realize over that 8 hours or 10 hours per day that you're doing this, it's not even a meditation. It's more like a self-operation. You're opening yourself up to see what's in there, and you let them out one at a time.
So in the beginning, your mind just must be overthinking and just racing. And
that could be a thick layer of resistance saying, you dare. Like, don't you dare challenge me and who I am right now, or, why I don't have a problem. You get all those kind of handcuffs. I'm not guilty.
But you're saying as the days go on, as each day you succeed in suffering through the boredom, your mind starts to slow down.
Slow down because Vipassana is not a religion. It's a breathing technique. So they're teaching you to breathe slow and steady, but all you do, you're focusing on your breath on a very, very small area. Just here, just in this little triangle area. All you do, the instructions is tell you to observe as you inhale and exhale, observe where the air is coming from. Is it hitting the inside or the outside of your nostrils? Where is it entering and leaving? That's all you do all day. But by doing that, or you call it, if you think about it, by eliminating any other distraction or anything outside of what's not your focus, you become very hyper-concentrated focus. On day 3, you start to feel the buzz on your forehead. They call it samadhi. So what it means is you get to concentrate and you wonder, okay, this is where you get fancy. You go, do I have superpowers now? Am I going to be able to move object without touching? A few of us will try that.
Yeah.
And fail. And obviously you've got to observe that disappointment sensation and let it rise and pass away. And then you realize that you can observe your own. Because one of the key things they tell you is the universe or everything you need to know, it's not outside. It's inside. Why did they say that? Because how inside work is exactly the same as outside. So the closest answer is actually no distance. It's with you. For me, it allowed me with this formula to understand a lot of like popular sentences that you see online or in religion or in any kind of big knowledge, like ancient one especially, because obviously they have all the time to think about it before they write something down. They normally write down with rocks really hard so they make sure they don't correct it. You can't just auto-correct this. It's very manual. So you got this particular brand, another beard guy would tell you, I'm the way, truth, and life.
Another bearded guy will tell you.
Yeah, they're always, all the great guys are like that. The dude that runs forever and then he comes back, say, Forrest, whatever. So I'm tired. He's being real. If you're not tired, you're not real. Mm. You just ran half a country. So this guy goes, I'm the way. You're right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm the way, truth, and life. And I'm like, wait a minute. He didn't say we are legs and we're not moving. So if you put it in a practical sense, I'm going from A to B, there's a distance. If I want to travel there, how do I get there? If I'm the way, so like I'm the path, The only way you can get there, it's not by moving. You have no wheels, you're not a vehicle. You can't travel. You're not outside or inside the map. You are the map. So if you want to see the truth, you light it up. How do you light it up to connect everything? You unblock everything that's blocking the way. Then it will flow. It's just like one of those, game. You get the green light. Now the door's open.
So then, if by day 3 this is what's coming in, what is day 10 like?
Day 10, actually, well, there's also day 5 as well, which is very important, but we can skip that. Leave some, try not to spoil the whole experience, although it is free.
Well, no, they say it's for donation. They accept donations. They can't run on nothing.
I probably missed that fine print, so.
Oh, you did donate? I
probably can donate in the future. They could have just make it more obvious. They just need to give me a few more winks, but they didn't. So on the day 10, when you get allowed to speak, they have a little ceremony. Is you learn the following. Now you are allowed to speak, and when we do that, and everyone's excited in the first place, and as soon as they open their mouth and say something, even a hello, whatever, they're in shock. They're like, I can't communicate with you with just talking. Because one of the things that you're being the whole time, you're being you, because you're not even saying a thing. What else can you be? You're being real you. So as soon as you say something, it's like you're covering up. Like as soon as I open my mouth, I'm lying. I can't tell you the whole truth because it's just not possible. There are dimensions and there are things that I can tell more with my eyes and my heart than my mouth through voice vibration. Not changing the air particles and air waves and here you go, here's the truth. No, I'm not having none of that. No, it's not happening. It's just not how you tell people the truth, or at least the whole truth. You can be sincere, and that answers your other question when you ask me, I can't lie. I'm not good enough to even do that because it's already hard enough to tell you the truth. If I'm saying something in with my wholeheartedly telling you the truth, I'm already lying. So I might as well fix my problems on the way instead of creating more. Because inevitably, like you're just gonna be creating more problems anyway. Might as well create a good one.
Something I learned many years ago was life is so much easier when you don't lie about anything to anyone.
That's right.
If you live in pure authenticity, it's a bit hard sometimes. Obviously, I might get into some trouble, and I'm not going to be completely honest with a police officer. I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Yeah. In New Orleans, they speak in French. It's even harder.
So, there are times, where you might have to tell a white lie. But as far as how I treat, my friends, my family, I'm just me, completely me. And that's the best way of finding out who should be around you.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to pretend to be something that you're not, you're going to attract the wrong people.
That's right.
And if you want your, the right crew, your tribe that's perfect suited to you,
That's right.
be yourself, be authentic.
That's right.
Don't try to impress anyone, and set the standard. Be the trendsetter. Live life the way you want to live, and the right people will be around you. And since then, everything's changed, and I just feel lighter. I don't feel like I have to impress anyone, or I don't worry about how people think about me. I don't mind being the villain in other people's stories.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
When you can do that. And sometimes it just takes a lot of life lessons, but sometimes it could be fear, it could be just anxious or not confident or not believing in yourself. Those kind of things stops you. And then there's always an easier button that seems like a little door here. You can just hide it if you want. But if you can close it and leave it as closed as like forever, you will continue to progress. But are you ready? That was always a question. Every single breath, every single moment. If you're ready now, you are ready. You don't have to wait. Wait is just an option. Even law is a suggestion. But yeah.
I mean, what does, because you speak a lot about being real and being authentic. How did you learn that lesson for yourself? What was it?
The first half of my life, during 18 years old, I ran away from home. So I started thinking that I can just beat the system. I can just do my own thing. And, that's when you get the beat down, get on the street, knock on the door and go, do you have a job? Or because I don't know what this thing is called rent is. It's so expensive. It's more than my pocket money every week. So you start to learn that, okay, I need to get a job. And then you start dealing with the pain of reality and how to start from scratch is just how it is. And then you learn the survival mode. And then once you get the first stable job for me, then I learned that by doing that, by impressing that boss or whoever around that person, keep that harmony, being a smooth operator, your life is stable. Yes, to a degree. But if you don't agree to it, this will bite back to you later, which is happening only recently. And then I go through my first divorce, had my son. Then I thought that by removing myself and understanding that other ones are happy, that would be a good family. That was wrong. And when I realized that, thank you to my sister, she brought me back and said, you know what, bro, you're in the picture as well. This is your world. You also live in there. You're not just a painting or a light for the other dude to look great. You're also in this picture. You're also a real human being in this character. In this picture. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I can be happy. That's when I came out and decided to be on my own. And just one day during housework for no reason, you just get that breeze at home. You're like, I'm back. Like last minute I was 18. Right now I'm 35 years old, but it feels like I'm just turned 19. Like there's like a period. It's like that movie Split. It's like, what year is it? You're gone for 20 years, just like that. And it's not even the time. You don't know how long you could be gone for. It's just some people just don't get the chance to come back. So I consider myself like very lucky in that sense. And I have a lot of gratitude for being to be able to be me for a short time. And then over time you can forget. So it's actually a constant work. And then recently, so I became a really happy guy for another couple of years. And then recently one of my friends comes to me and go, there's a problem with your comments, Leo, because you're being very philosophical. Everything you say, it's like a quote from somebody. It seems very right. I can't challenge it, but that's not the point. Everything is at room temperature. It's like it's not hot, it's not cold, it's not from you.
It's like you're playing a character. You're
That's
regurgitating
right.
information.
That's right. It's like I'm in my hockey game, but I'm the audience. I'm behind glass all the time. I'm just like, and then that was the moment when I realized that, hey man, what is he saying? Like, what am I doing?
They want to see more Leo.
Yeah, that's right. They want to see more Leo, and I'm like, yeah. I haven't had a point where I have an online name called OMG, and I like that name. It's kind of cool, and I think everybody gets a cool reaction. Let's have that as me, and I think that's a little mind trick that I did to myself as well. Because then I never become me, you know. Because then I realize what and when I do this, it's whenever I have any kind of pain that I know I need to deal with something, whether it's when it's a kid, whether it's an exam coming up or a dictation that I haven't prepared for, or a workout session that I'm too tired for, something that requires some effort, and it's almost like a judgment day for me. And that judges me, by the way. I'm judging myself before the judgment day, and I already lock myself into that and hide into something that I'm not. So therefore, I have a fake show of, yeah, no worries, we'll get that done, everything will be fine. That's total bullshit.
And I get what you're saying with that, because I mean that's what a lot of us do is we talk about the stuff that we consume, right?
You can't.
It's like, did you see that show on Netflix the other night? Or it's all water cooler talk. That's how we live our lives,
That's
right? By just sharing our experiences. But sometimes, just put that effort into yourself, and that's why I like to dress up bright. That's why I tell my stories in a certain way now, whereas before I'd just be recounting things that happen. Now I express more about my feelings and everything, and share my humor, and I guess my star is shining brighter now more than ever. It's like your sister said, instead of being in the picture, it's being the main focus of the picture. No, you are the picture.
That's
Be
right.
the picture.
That's right. And drawing it and creating paint and colors out of it every moment. If you're constantly putting a frame on what it would look like to others instead of what you're currently working in progress, because you're supposed to be a current work in progress, not showing a finished product, it's so easy to pick when you're not real. Like, I used to don't listen to a lot of rap music, but then it's like even that changed. I realized that I can catch on to their rap like lyrics. I don't understand why they're saying that, and the tone and what they're living through and what they're really reflecting. They're trying to wake people up. It's like you watch a comedy show, a stand-up comedy. It may sound funny to everyone or a lot of people, but then that guy is really telling you how it is. And that may sound funny at first. And then you realize that he's trying to give you some wisdom from what he's gone through in a fun way.
Yeah.
And that's really appreciative. And then that's what I thought about. We can all do what we want to do as long as we're being real about it. Because worst case scenario, you lie to yourself first, and then you thought you like it. You don't. Yeah, you waste your time. You're drawing something that you're never planning to draw anyway. Why you waste that canvas?
I'm trying to teach my son to think that way, because I noticed the last few years I've been very critical of him. And I've been saying, when you say this, you should say this instead. And always correcting his behavior as a parent who's guiding their child would. But then I realized I'm not leaving him any room to grow into being himself, not allowing him to make the mistakes for himself. And if I keep correcting him too much, he's going to think that he needs to be a certain way, when it's okay to be flawed sometimes, right? We don't have to be perfect. And if I spend too much time being critical, he'll turn into this person who just needs to learn to be perfect and will always be on a healing journey and probably turn into a people pleaser. And I need to find a balance there in being a parent and guiding without sending the wrong message.
Yeah. And the first thing I realized, if you do exactly what you're doing on a very similar path of what my father do. And his reason is because he want me to not get out of track, because he don't want me like 40 years down the track, you're gonna blame me for not holding you onto your track because I'm gone too far and I can't fix myself. That was his fear, and his fear because he has a little temple of how a good father should do and what he should be doing. But what you realize is something greater, because you're letting him to be real, being him, and being able to experience. Because by doing that, you're actually doing some future work for him. You let him to do some future work for himself, and that's anger. When you remove the fear and get to be yourself, my first expression, I realized I have a lot of anger in me because I wasted so much time in my life to be, I don't know, whoever that character is, people pleasing. I don't want to. I hate that. Those are huge words that just come out from my mouth. Like, I just felt it. I feel it for real. And that's different level of just pretending to be angry. You're actually angry. And that, you go through that phase, and I think that's part of how I grow to be, by the way. So you're like, I'm not shaving no more. I don't even know what I look like if I'm gonna be like me for a while. Let's not let technology in the way of progress, you know? Just not shave for a while and see how I go. I'm still a long way from I know what I'm supposed to look like if I was back in the biblical days. So,
speak of the devil's, Emmanuel's trying to call.
Please have him over. Talk about the subject of anger.
I should have.
If you want to see anger in a physical form, that's what it looks like in general. You won't catch it in plain sight.
I should have answered the call and just put you on there and be like, hey,
yeah.
I'm Leo from Optus.
I know you're with Telstra already, but you might be able to use enough to switch over. But yeah, so you have a lot of anger you got to work on. And again, depends if you got friends. If you do, congratulations. They might be able to let you know that, because most friends I find are actually a more gentle person than I am. I'm actually not one of them. So I'm glad I have some of them around that will hold on to me and just not put me in the fire. That would be like, Leo, I understand where your anger is coming from, which I'm surprised when they say that. And they go, but you can do this. Instead of being unknown optimism, you can be passive, known pessimism. So what I'm trying to say is, initially you thought you were right, so therefore you go things ahead, like regardless of consideration or knowing that you can actually F it up. But if you have a known pessimism, you know you're not that good, but you can work to improve. Using that approach from that viewpoint, it's actually workable. So I'll be like thinking, oh, I'm gonna drop my job because I really love poker and I can't really just do poker. You guys are in the way, and that's why I'm not being great. It's not that I don't have skills. All right. Solution number 2, if we're going through known pessimism, you'll be like, okay, my poker skills are still a long way before it's professional, but I can work this together, keeping my day job, balancing my work-life balance with family and friends and everything can progress a bit, and that's really beneficial, and that's still being me, and it's some of my choices that I can do instead of being extreme. The learning is about learning how to be balanced, and that for me is really big, and it all happened from Christmas, just before Christmas, to New Year. So that just has been an intense a week and a half. And then I saw you.
I find that the period, I don't know why, the period between Christmas and New Year's, there's always something heightened about it, like spiritually.
Yeah, it's very different from lockdown. Huh? You had a whole year of Christmas. That didn't do much. I don't know. I didn't even get better at my barbecue skills, but you know. Yeah, it's one of those times that you get to self-reflect. It's like you're walking through a grand ceremony. You just do enough that you look back, and I don't know, maybe 1 year is our human cycle is normally a good time for us to really look back at the whole thing and see how we progress instead of what scores am I doing today, because that's about as long as we can hold.
I I usually people look back and they compare themselves at certain ages or certain years that they went through. I don't know. I look back and separate into periods of my life where I feel like I was a really different person. And it could be a 2 year period versus a 5 year period versus a 10 year period. And I feel I do change that much and evolve that much. I don't look at it, I can't quantify it into a year anymore. I just have different states of being, different mindsets. And then, different phases. You have a fitness phase or you have a poker phase, and I used to be on a healing phase. And what I learned recently is that I spent a lot of time identifying with that journey and that healing, and even identifying with your spirituality. It's not something you should do. Being spiritual, that's part of, that's who you are. Essentially, we are spirits. That's like saying I identify with being vegan. No, I just eat vegetables. That's it. Once you start making a belief, like your religion or your diet, into your personal identity, you're losing access to understanding who you truly are. You're blocking that because you're pigeonholing yourself as I'm this and I'm that, and you can have 5 different identities.
That's right.
You could be a gay vegan fitness freak, and that's it. That's 3 identities. Wow. Right? That's not.
I couldn't capture that. Can you just remember to tell me that after the show? So. I like to put that on my profile.
You'll have a soundbite.
Show me your handle.
I'm a gay vegan fitness freak.
Yeah. Are you sure? Also wrestling with hobby.
That was just an example. I'm not gay and I'm not vegan. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I am pescatarian.
Slight
now.
disappointment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay or vegan. Right. I give credit to the vegans. I was...
While holding a ham.
I was thinking about doing Veganuary. I was vegan for 2 years, and then I thought, I can do it for 1 month, and yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I love my fish too much. I love my cheese too much. I feel bad for the cows every time I eat my cheese, but I don't feel bad for the fish.
Right.
But yeah, but for so many years, I vegan was part of my identity.
I think sometimes when we get too much focus and sacrifice everything and say that I'm this one dot, you're expanding that dot to be your entire being or entire world, they call it. That's 100%. But we all know that we are a gazillion percentage divide in the 100% of a bit of everything. And it's like that painting. You're not gonna finish a painting with just one color. You can, but there'll still be a degree of that color. So there's never one tone for all. That would be boring, and that would be unheard of either. That would be just weird, being very limited. Possibilities, it's a possibility. It's meant to be infinite and unlimited. So why would you do that to say that I'm just one part and nothing else? That's just a lie.
I think, as a society, we feel pressured to identify ourselves, and when we meet someone new, they always ask, because they want to qualify you. They want to see how much value that you hold as a person in society. So they say, what do you do for work? And I haven't worked in almost 2 years, right? So
Oh, I envy you.
look, I set up my life in a certain way where I could just buy myself some time, and I will have to figure something out. This is just temporary. If this kicks off and turns into something else, then I won't have to go back to work. If nothing comes from any of this, then I'll find something and I'll figure out, I've got my options.
Mm-hmm.
But for the last few years, I just say I don't work. That's it. And I don't feel like I don't have to explain myself beyond that. And some of them accept that. A lot of people go, well, how do you make money? And they get really nosy. And I just say I gamble, or I do this, or I play poker or something, but
It's really cool to say. It's like, I just predict lotto numbers.
I do a lot of degenerate betting. But no, that's not me. That's not who I want to be. So I usually dodge the question of what I do for work. And that's when I noticed it's better I felt freer not having this identity, not being a certain something. Because whatever I say that I am, that's how I see myself. Right?
You don't need to.
Yeah. And if say I'm Michael the florist, and I tell everyone I'm a florist, I'm always going to have this image of me being a florist in my head.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. Yeah. Do you say shirtless?
There's no other way that you can make this level of income and be this free just doing florist.
Look,
There has to be specials.
no, floristry, you can, if you do it right. I know a few friends who are good florists.
Send me a link to your OnlyFans page.
I got accused of that recently. Someone said, "Oh yeah, so how's the gay porn going?" Because what did we?
Gay vegan, right? Yes, of course. They can relate.
I think I prefer the drug dealing accusations a lot more. But
Yeah, the beard Highlander. Yes, I like that.
But yeah, what was something we were talking about the other day? Frequency in water.
Yes.
I recently had seen something. People would start writing on their water bottles or drawing dollar signs.
Oh, well, it become a wish bottle.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trend now. People just write positive notes on their water because they believe that changes the structure of the water.
Right, I'll just be writing 2 capital A's. Okay. Probably a red and a black one. You can't get suited aces. I'm simple, 2D is fine. Just give me 2 cards and it has those letters. I'm happy. I'm smiling.
But I know nothing about from other than the shorts I've seen or the reels I've seen on water being frozen and the crystallization. And you said that.
Oh yeah, you're not alone. Except I've just done a little bit more, I guess, a bit of research or Wikipedia reading onto Dr. Emoto's findings. He found that water crystals, if you have a particular frequency, the water crystals or the shape of the particle changes. And that's fascinating to me because we are made mostly with water. Every cell contains some water, some H2Os. So if you're telling me all those shapes changes to a frequency, then it's very important to say that. I remember there's also another guy that does a lot of teaching. His name is Basha.
Oh yeah, the blind guy.
That's right. He's actually not blind. But when he's doing his thing, he looks blind.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought he was like Stevie Wonder's cousin, but it's not. So he just does this. But when he does that, he's actually just channeling. Okay, let's put the channeling aside. But what he's saying, his famous word I'm quoting here, what he's saying is, circumstances does not matter. Only state of being matters. What he's trying to say that whatever is happening around you or happening to you is not as important or matter as who you are being. And then he gives an example. I am happy, as in my name is Happy, and I'm the being Happy instead of Leo right now. I'm being happy, like that. And all of a sudden it clicked. I was like, oh, I can just choose who I am, but also at the same time I become fake. But that's a different story. But what he's trying to say is, whatever happens, that circumstances does not matter. Who you are being, that it ultimately matters. And that puts it back into this water experiment is if you're consistently like feeling, not just saying and yelling a word, but when you say words, there's energy. When you blow that out of you, exhale, you're exchanging into the particles of, I don't know, happiness or gratitude or anger, something like that. They have a different vibration. It sets off and they reflect you unconditionally to the shape, or that it's like there's like a reflection to change to show what you just gave. It's like, oh, the sunlight's hitting, therefore the temperature goes up. It's a really fast current, therefore the wave looks unstable. Seems similar to that, but in a microscopic form, in a crystal form, in that particle. When you're being angry, it will be like pointy and spiky, each of them. And when you're being like gratitude, everything's like beautiful, like laid out, like crystallized and flowers and everything. So what they're trying to say is when you are being who you are, those shapes are forming. So it gives me the perspective to see what does it mean when somebody is happy or when somebody is upset. You see it visually, and not because their face frown or the eyes look down or those FBI, facial expression or body gesture. Yes and no, but most importantly, is every single cell comes in as a particular pattern, and subconsciously we see it. So therefore, we feel it because we have no eyes everywhere. We only have eyes in one spot, but everything else feels. I can feel that vibe coming from that person. And that's what I learned about. And it seemed to make sense if you link everything together back to our daily life. So from my experience, that's what I find interesting. So water, vibration, and us, we are all one.
So tell me about Dr. Enomoto's science, like experiments.
Emoto. So, yeah, his full name is it's Masaru Emoto.
Is he the guy that did the rice?
I don't know. I did see the free rise experiments as well. When one of them just do nothing, the other one he's praising and just being so in love with him. He's like dancing like a new girlfriend. And the last one he's just cursing like he's like an extra child he doesn't want, like a stepson or something, So he's just yelling and screaming in that one. Obviously that one dies first.
I did the rice experiment a few years ago and it was legit.
Yeah, legit. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
I actually got the rice. We put them in 3 containers. And had him in the kitchen and just abused one.
Yep, that's right.
And praised the
other.
How
do you abuse them? Just verbally or physically? Every time I see you, I hate you.
Walk past the kitchen, just give it to people's elbow.
That's it. You deserve this. And you, on the other hand, deserve the best.
So what's next in your chapter of life, Leo?
Right now, on Saturday, was it Friday? Friday. And I did my reality check of where I am and have a chat with other friends about how I can balance it. I'm actually going to live my life just like on the outside, it will look like another year that I'm just doing the same thing. Like I just go back to work. After work, I might do some side hustle and look after my wife and, look after her shop a bit on a weekend and then deal poker on the Sunday and maybe take an extra game here and there just to work, not to play. And then I may find one game a week just like how I would play, but the whole thing is different on the interior as I know it because everything that I'm doing, I have a goal. I have a mini goal for each of them set. And that's different from last year. So like this year, I might be like getting towards become a senior drafter for structural drafting, which what I work with structural engineers. This year, I would target to be even more efficient, learn some new skills that will maybe add on to the program that I normally don't use, and be a better version of myself and can do things in a higher efficiency with better clarity so everybody can build. And and the engineer may have less to comment about because it just looks like you can just go out. You can just represent me.
You have a crystal shop in Chatswood, right?
I do. I have a crystal and candle shop at Milson's Point train station. It's called Our Candles. My wife runs it, and it's also a healing shop as well. She does the reading and everything. This year, every year with the shop and the brand, we enter the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival at the ICC Darling Harbour for 4 days. This year, I intend to submit just like how we do right now, but maybe just myself solo to a crowd for public speaking. So I would give maybe like 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever amount of time they give me to just be on stage and to speak. Because I realize that when you're being real, you're just talking about what you really feel. There's nothing that you're hiding, so therefore there's no fear. You've already worked through that. There's a pain of maybe sore back or standing too long or the mic not really giving you feedback to your ears, but that's fine. I want to transmit that message out. If I can wake up as much people as I can, I'm happy for that. Mm-hmm. And that's something extra that I will do on top, let alone where I'll go for another breath coaching, anything, whatever, ice bath or something like that. Those are optional stuff. It's more what I'm already doing. I would like to do one better.
When you say waking them up, what are you waking them up from?
I realize that even when quoting, when you say something that, let's say, that seems to be on a higher level or a higher perspective, or you're trying to show them something, you will get triggers. People will be triggered, either yes or nay, yay or nay. They'll be like, oh yeah, I totally agree. I feel something. Thank you for reminding. Or they say, I don't agree. I'm prepared for that, and I'm expecting people to hopefully bring their own tomatoes and just throw it in my face. It doesn't matter. The point is, I will tell you what I'm going to tell you, and when I'm done, I go back to my job. I don't care. I can't care or to change how you're going to feel about it, but I need to tell you what I need to tell you.
Do you ever feel that, I don't know, when I look at everything backwards and you just look at all the ironic things and the synchronicities, and you start to think, how much control do we really have over our lives? And especially like what we're talking about before we even started recording, when we're sitting here about choice being an illusion, when we're picking out our clothes in the morning.
That's right.
I just feel that if what is everything that has happened in our lives until this very point, it can't have happened any other way. And I think about whenever, say, playing poker and you make a mistake, you think, oh, I should have done this and done that. No, in that exact second in time, you reacted the way that you would have reacted. And everything, your whole life leading up until that point made you who you are, and there's nothing you could have done differently. You could have played that hand 1,000 times, you would have reacted the exact same way. You could have maybe, if, say, a waiter came in and knocked the table and this happened and you had more time to think about it, you still would have come to the same decision, most likely, right? But then that's another variable. But then in saying that, it's like, how much choice do we have? All the mistakes I would have made.
I have heard Basha explained, and I don't know, I haven't experienced it myself. You can't possibly experience it like a multi-dimensional that happened at the same time. He said that we have a choice of choosing before that exact moment. Let's say there's 1 second before impact of that moment happening. In that 1 second, we can still differentiate into an infinite amount of time and choose from infinite dimension of realities of what we want to land as that moment to continue the next. So we're saying every moment we're doing that. I don't know, but it sounds like a tremendous amount of work to me. but okay, so I would go, my way would be, as long as me being real and being me, that moment land, it's how it's supposed to be. Everything else is a deviation from what it could be 100% me. But now that we're talking about it, I start to think that maybe being 100% is also very hard. All right, I'll settle for 95% and go from there. percent discount, or maybe I need to go to pee or something. I'll just hold up a little bit, shrink a little. I don't know, something like that. So I would say just don't live your life with regret, because if you keep thinking that is that the best moment I choose, you are micromanaging yourself, and don't let that in the way of just like how we do videos or podcasts. Don't let it take away. Don't let perfection or lighting, whatever action, take away your authenticity. Be authentic. Be you. And everything you do, you won't regret. My dad tells me when I was studying, I don't care if you get first place or second place or expelled, but as long as you tell me you've given your best, you've given your all, the rest of the result is not important. I reckon he'll do great in poker because he's not being result driven, and I'm not doing great at school.
So I used to have that regret that I didn't go after my dreams enough, or I didn't make the most of my time, and then I realized that so what? So fucking what?
That's right.
I lived my life how I lived it.
That's right.
I made the mistakes. I wasted my time with, I spent extra time in relationships that I shouldn't have. I stayed in a job too long that I shouldn't have. And I probably could have grown more if I'd taken more risks earlier. But that's not how I lived my life.
That's
and
right.
I can't dwell on that. And that's the beauty of it is when you start valuing the imperfections and how things don't go to plan and how unpredictable life is, that's what makes it more spontaneous, and you appreciate every moment and you don't take for granted. And the second you start thinking, oh, it should be this and it should be that and I could have done this better and it could have love the imperfections.
Sure.
And embrace it. Embrace how unpredictable and how volatile life can be. And just, I don't plan too much anymore. Before I used to obsess over the future, obsess over, where's my next holiday going to be? Or what, and I'm thinking about my career or money. I think money is a big one, and saving up for something, and you try to plan, and the longer you plan and save up for this holiday or this new car,
the procrastination goes on.
Well, you just when it comes around, it's not as satisfying, right? It's better to just let everything come to you naturally, rather than wanting it.
That's right.
Because you live life in your head, and then when it forms into reality, it's never as awesome as you imagined it to be.
That's right. It's like playing TV games sometimes. Some of the TV games in the olden days used to have secret codes or password they can just rig the game. Like I can just type in "show me the money," and I'll have all the money straight away, all the funds I need to buy all the weapons. But then I realized very soon I won't play that game no more. I'll lose interest because I'll just correct the game. The whole game is now in my control. I can do whatever I want. There's no challenge. There's no pain anymore. I am not solving anything. If anything, I got all the solution, but there's no questions. And that is so boring. Yeah. You get so lonely in that game, you just quit. It's the same in life. If you become millionaire or billionaire or whatever, trillionaire, the next minute by will, you can just do it. But then once you do that, you just own everything. That's going to be a sad story. Because when you realize that what you could have done by being you and just level up where you're supposed to and go through the opponents where you're supposed to meet, you miss out all that experience and journey. When you don't have that, you wish you had that. You can't buy that back. That's not by an amount of money that you have in your account. That doesn't do anything. I can't meet that friend that I would ever met if I wasn't being me, because, she doesn't have a price tag. or he doesn't have a price tag to teach you something or to share you something valuable that allows you to create that resilience or whatever that character that you really are today. So if you ask me how I would live, not the cheat way, just live the normal, authentic way as you would. That's the best to do it because you wouldn't want it any other way. And that's when I appreciate making mistakes. There's no such thing. But mistakes is a beautiful word to name it because it's so exciting when you say it. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to the next one to make. Every single minute, let's fuck this up. In a creative way, Creativity is one thing. So you can put a bright tone to it, you can put a positive to it. But as long as you're being you, that's fine. If you're not cool that day, that's fine. Be you. Put a negative spin on it. That's fine. You're supposed to. Because you're not supposed to pretend to be happy. You can't. It would be weird. It's like putting perfume on poop. It doesn't work. You can't hide that. It's just so potent.
Yeah. So I think we got one more time for one more topic.
How about I want to ask you a question? Because I think this particular one I brought up just before we came in, the ayahuasca. And you had the ayahuasca experience. I'm quite interested because deep inside me, I do want to try it. But then also deep inside me, I fear of paying the air ticket to Arizona. I don't know if that's the only place that does it. And B is I'm fear of any kind of pain. Like, if you go to a doctor and put an injection in my ass, I'll be like, I don't know, I'm not sure. I'm just all squeezed up and just, tense. And I'm just not sure, would I die? Like, would you recommend anyone to do it or have a certain condition?
It's very safe. A lot of misconceptions around it. But the experiences of when you have it, there's a lot of purging. Purging can come in the form of just simply yawning or some shaking, but then it can also be vomiting and diarrhea.
Okay. In AutoCAD or in the software that I use in drafting, the word purge normally means you delete stuff that doesn't use. So whatever you're not using, you purge and your file becomes smaller.
Yeah. So with the purging, it gets a lot of the toxins out of your body and it cleans your system.
Is that in the form of a ritual in the bathroom? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, either you're doing a lot of spewing your guts out or, sometimes you get the double purge where it comes out both ends. You have control over it. You have time to go to the bathroom and then do it there. But yeah, basically there's a lot of cleaning out. You saying you have to go to Arizona? No, you don't. I went to Colombia. I didn't have to go that far. It turns out they have ayahuasca retreats in Australia.
Oh, where?
Yeah, there's some in the Blue Mountains.
Oh, that's good. I don't even catch a plane. Oh, well, that's sort of the financial side.
It's not going to be in your yellow pages.
Okay.
So you'll have to speak to some people, but I can put you in, give you the right contacts.
Awesome. So just come back home in an ambulance.
But look, there's a lot of options for 1-day retreats or 2-day retreats. I recommend at least 4 ceremonies.
Yes.
Because it's not a medicine where you take it and it works straight away.
Yeah, it's not a Panadol.
Your body will take time to get used to it, and I'm not sure why, but the more you take it, the more it has an effect on you. That's the way I found it, and it's basically you take it, and after about 4 hours, for 4 hours worth, it's producing DMT, just slow releasing because you're digesting it. Whereas if you were to smoke DMT, it'd be a very short process. And DMT, which I always forget what it stands for. I can't say
It's not a band.
the name. but I'll Google it. Dimethyltryptamine. So the only times that DMT is created in our bodies, and the only times that we experience it is when we're dreaming or right before we die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why with ayahuasca, people have that experience of death.
Yeah, the near-death experience.
And that's what I had. I didn't really get that dream state, though.
Do you only do it during that full ceremony and then no more after since? Or do you do it again at a certain, and then you cleanse it again or purge again? Any regular, do you recur this at all? Or?
No, I only just did it the 4 ceremonies. I never touched it again.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not something I'd want to just wake up. I feel like ayahuasca today.
Yeah.
It's a very trippy, very ceremonial sort of experience there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would treat the medicine with respect. I wouldn't just wake up and...
Okay, good to know. Yeah.
It's not like a bong.
Yeah, because I did remember on your YouTube, you said that, on your clip, you said you did a record high of dosage on that. I'm like, how do they get those stats?
Because it just wasn't working for me. I have very high tolerance to psychedelics. So say mushrooms, I'll probably have to have 10 grams.
They don't do like a Guinness Book of Record on that. It was like, oh, this guy's done the most ayahuasca. Nobody beat him. You know,
I think
throw up 10 liters.
It's just from the shaman's personal experience. He hadn't given anyone that much until that point.
I respect that.
Yeah. So, and because nothing had happened at all for 3 ceremonies, he wanted to make sure that I had something. So
Yeah. Or else he lose respect in himself.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would just
tell me this is B grade. I paid this much.
But yeah, it was a good experience. I definitely recommend it, and anyone that has fears about it, it's got nothing to.
Yeah, I'm really interested to possibly, once I know that there's something blocking me from being real, you automatic, once you've been real even for a moment, you want to strip everything to not let you not reach that goal. So everything that is not in my focus, I eliminate. Well, with balance.
Well, I personally think that 10-day retreat that you went on, where it's just nothing and you sit there with yourself, I think I would get way more out of that than I would doing ayahuasca.
Oh, okay.
Because basically ayahuasca is the shortcut. I think I can't say because I haven't meditated for 10 days straight.
Yeah, that's what my brain was asking as well. So how does he know?
But from my experience with ayahuasca, it's just stripping everything away. Mm-hmm. And if you sit in silence for 10 days, you're slowly, brutally, and it's going to be torturous.
Yeah.
But everything will get stripped away.
Yeah.
Because if you're not thinking about your work, you're not thinking about this, you're not thinking about having to go somewhere that day for 10 days, you don't have any responsibilities. Your life will slowly fade, right? That's right. That's how
you can't even relate, exactly.
That's how I would imagine it, right? And so I find that, that would be the long way, but that would, if I could get there and slowly get to that same level, but when you do everything the long way, the right way, that's going to have a longer lasting effect, I believe.
I do think, just from looking at, like, experiencing how you are as a person grow to this point, I do think that there are some answers on both. Like, you do benefit on each of them, the exercise that we go through, whether it's the long way or the short way. And I think it comes down to our awareness and understanding that will prolong it. But definitely, if you got time, try Vipassana, and I'll definitely try ayahuasca and let you know how I go, if I could, yeah.
Do you have to do the old 10 days, or can you just do 3 days?
The first time when you enter, they recommend you to do the full 10 days, because the last thing they want is someone that did like halfway or 3 days and just say, oh, I did it. But that's not real, because then they're spreading the wrong message, and more importantly, they're being fake to themselves because they thought this is it. Like, you do a driving test, don't just do part A and leave because you're not ready to drive. Like that. It's safer for the community.
And there's an application process? You can't, not
Yes,
anybody
there
can
is
just
a
do it?
website. If you just type in Vipassana, and then there will be like a something.org.au. And then you can register your interest, and then they'll tell you if we have room for you. Because everything, as you said, is by donation, which I will remind myself to do something about it. And every student in there, literally, they don't have to pay anything. They just go in there because they feel that this will be beneficial to it. And a very big thing about them is they don't like to promote it or to let someone to speak about it subjectively. That's why I'm trying to be as objective as I could to explain the process. There are info talks they will do, but they don't do like, oh, this is good for you. They don't say it like that. They will just say, this is a technique that we will teach people to do when they come here. They don't comment, they don't judge, it's up to you. Because if you have that awareness to pick it, then you're right. If you don't, and someone bring you to it, the whole process is meaningless. That's how subtle it is. And subtle is a big topic in there.
And do you find that that retreat changed you a lot let me rephrase the question. How much of an impact did it have on your way of thinking? When you came back to integrate back into society, how much were you able to hold on to it before you slipped back into regular everyday thinking?
I would like to answer, or I wish to answer, that I was having that scenario, therefore I go for a retreat, but I was much worse. So what happened was, before I go for the retreat, I have an episode where, the usual, when you first feel awakened. I felt awakened spiritually after I just one day randomly listening to Basha's speaking on the phone, talking about that state of being thing, blah, 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 and continue to go on and I feel the knowledge. All of a sudden I got awakened, and every concept that I've learned or ever understood in my life just came right through to me and redefined themselves. What do they really mean? Like, what does respect really mean? What does determination really mean? And then everything just flowing on top of me. And I started just talking weird. For days, I started posting like hundreds of Instagram stories just because I had this release. I feel like I downloaded something to my head, and I need to transmit all this information out before I die or something. I don't know what's going to happen the next day. So I just put gazillion stories out there. And then my wife goes, all right, you're nuts.
I find that when people spiritually awaken or they reach a new level of consciousness,
Yes.
they can't help but want to share it.
Yeah, they call you crazy. Yeah.
And I felt that, and I was just posting and sharing a lot of stuff. Yeah. And now I've realized, you know what, people, that's their own journey. They'll get there on their own.
That's right. Unplug it.
If you try to overshare, or they just, they'll say, oh, you're crazy, or they'll get annoyed. And I think that's the way is subtle guidance.
Yeah.
But you just can't help but want to,
Because everybody's got to sit through the exam. If you tell them the answers, you literally messed them up.
Yeah.
Like, because now when they go to the exam is still there, but you go, hey man, the answers are not from you. Apparently there's copyright on the answers. So if they don't write their own words, that's not their answer. They're looking at it and they can't write it the same way without doing their own writing.
Yeah.
And their own writing, apparently it's a different word to them in their perspective. That I didn't know. So when I go and help them or teach, I slow them down, unless that's what I have to do for me.
Yeah.
Everything you do is for yourself. It's not for others. I mean, it will happen to be for others, but if you really want to help somebody, the real thing is just be real and do your thing. They can pick it up from what you do, and they can learn if they choose to. You can't force them. Vipassana.
And some people, it's not in their destiny, or they don't want to. They just want to live their regular life. They just want to live in this matrix, and they're happy that way.
Yeah, that's right.
And some people are just not ready, and some people were never meant to be ready.
Some people even bring into the concept of incarnation. It's like, this is your 3,036 times and you still fuck it up. I'm like, yeah, I will just, let me try something different. You just can't force it.
Yeah. And yeah, I get that. And it's like running into a cinema and spoiling the end of the movie to all the people that are watching it.
Yeah, and it's not quite as regular like the day before tomorrow from Tom Cruise. You know how he just continuously die and die and die and die and die, and then he progresses a little bit more and then die again.
I think The Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. That's right.
That's
Yeah,
a cool movie.
because that's a weird way to talk about edging, but yeah. Cheers. Happy New Year. It's good to catch up like this.
Yeah, and I think that's it for today. I think we've been talking for an hour and a half now.
Yeah. I don't even know. I didn't calculate the time. Just feel flowy.
But yeah, I think I got that. So just try not to cough the whole time. I don't know. I think I kissed a few
I try not
many
to fart.
frogs on New Year's Eve. Huh?
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Where'd you find them?
Scruffy Murphy's.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay, cool. Wow, it's a wild place. Always available.
So yeah, I think thanks for coming on the show. And,
Thanks for having me.
See you again.
I did dream of something like this when I first saw you again at poker already, because I noticed you go on holiday, and I don't know, I didn't realize that it was not just a holiday. it was more than just party. I was like, this guy going party, he's got a lot of free time. I'm like, nice chicks, boats and everything. I'm like, it's great.
Everyone, you know the episode of How I Met Your Mother where they say to Barney, what do you actually do? He's like, please. That's me, please.
That's great. I like to answer people like that.
But there's no more partying anymore. Like no more traveling because
you're constantly partying inside. So it doesn't matter.
I've run out of money, and now my son lives with me.
Doesn't matter.
It's like, sort of more responsibilities. I can't go anywhere. I want to go on this 10-day retreat, but I can't because he lives with me now.
Pain is a good teacher. That's it. Let us do his thing and don't run away from it. It's trying to teach you something. Get that wisdom and you'll power yourself up.